Hi, everybody. This is EOS, and today we're going to go through how I do surgical side chains using a volume envelope shaper with a MIDI link or a MIDI trigger. So first of all, here's how it's set up in this project. Lately, I've just been doing one big sidechain group, but this is an older project. This is what it sounds like. Okay, so we've got a kick channel here. It's MIDI into a sampler, a snare channel. Then we have two MIDI channels here, which are our sends to the sidechain plugin, which in this case I'm using Shaperbox 2. The kick sends in a pre-effects MIDI signal. Then that gets sent to my pre-master, which gets sent to the first of the Shaperboxes, which sidechains the kick. Then we've got a snare, pre-effects. That's the MIDI signal coming in. These have to be switched to in so that the signal gets passed through, then pre-master, then the second Shaperbox. So I have all of my, this is an old project where I was using a template that I don't use anymore. But, so these are the shaper boxes. I'm going to bring them up and put them over here. Kick, snare. Let's make sure that's what's, yep. Kick's the first one, snare's the second one. All right, so now into how we set up the sidechain. So the first thing you got to do is put in a new audio channel and solo the snare, the kick, and the kick snare bus. So that now that's all we hear. Okay, so now let's go to the audio channel. Instead of doing resampling, I just bring it in straight from the bus. Because I don't want the master channel to do any effects on it when I resample it. So we've got the kick and snare right there. What I've done in this next channel, just to save some time, I have 3 of the kicks duplicated out, 3 of the snares duplicated out right on the start of these grid points. And then I have I'm going to open these back up later. I've taken the crossovers from the multi-band sidechain. I shouldn't have closed that right away. I've taken the crossovers. So if I hover over these, you can see down here what the crossovers are. So I've got a 178 and 1.92 kilohertz. So what I've done on our kick and snare samples here is automated on and off EQs with those crossover points. So this is the highs, mids, lows. So low channel, mid channel, high channel, low channel, mid channel, high channel. Then you freeze the channel, you freeze that, you flatten it, and then this is going to show us exactly how long we need to be in each of these bands. Through grid manipulation, we can see right here that a 30-second note is going to be sufficient for the kick. And because of how the divisions go in our sidechaining plugin that we're using, we only have access to 30-second 64th 128, which is fine. Smaller divisions than that, we can control all of this with the shape of the envelope as well, which we'll get into in a second. So for right now, I'm going to record the sidechain values here. So this is a 30-second note grid. A lot of times these won't all be the same size like this. I just happen to choose a particularly short kick. And the envelopes will still be able to do like quite a bit of precision more than just setting these sizes. So we'll go in. We can see it's a 30-second note, 30-second note, and then maybe 64th note on the highs, which we can go to 30-second note, then hit Control 1 to divide the grid, and then we'll set up a pretty short envelope in here. This one might even be able to get set to 128th, which would be this grid. I think we're going to just go ahead and put that in there, 128. Okay. So now we move on to the snare. The snare, there's no low end content. That's just noise. So we're going to say off for the low band. Now we've got mid band and high band. These have stuff going on. Let's see. There's a 30-second note. Could be a good one for that. And then for the very high end, we'll do a 16th triplet. 32, 16T. Okay. So we've got our lengths written down, and now we don't really need any of this stuff anymore. I do leave in the proof though, just so I know I've done the process, and if I'm questioning the side chain, I just go back and look at it, or look at the lengths of those. Okay, so let's pop open these, and we still need this. Let's make this channel bigger and zoom in. Okay, so we'll start with the kick, which is this one. And you can see when I click on the low band, it makes we got to set up the lengths. We got 32 on this one, 32 on the mid band, and 128 on the high band. And we'll go ahead and just set the snare one really quick as well. We've got a low of off, so change the mix to 0. This one is a 32nd note, and this one is a 16th triplet. Okay, now we're going to match up the grid here. See how that says 128th, or when I switch to here, 132, with the grid on here. So we'll start with 132nd note. Turn off triplet grid. And more or less make these grids match up with the envelope here. Oh, I didn't zoom in enough. Okay, so here we go. Match up with the envelope. So we can tell that that's good. Okay, so here's our grid spacing, here's our grid spacing. It stays loud all the way across here, and then starts to get quiet like around here. So I want to move this. I'm going to keep that fully open, and only after this revolution, or this cycle right here ends, does it really, then it drops in volume quickly. So try something like that for the low band. So now we want to stay at the same grid spacing. I'm just going to scroll down instead of resizing it again. Just a little bit of resizing, so we'll snap it back in there. Okay, this line matches up with this line matches up with this line. Good enough. Go to the mid band. So this stays loud till fully loud, kind of till like here, and then it starts to drop down, and then it's kind of quiet. Oh, I didn't want to add another thing there. It kind of starts to get pretty quiet very quickly. Okay, so that looks nice to me. Now for the last one, it's a 1/28th grid, so we'll go to 32nd note, then divide grid in half, divide grid in half. Now we're at 1/28. And this is more just to make a gap. Once you get this zoomed in, you can see this is mostly noise. We can solo this. Very quick transient noise. So that's why I'm leaving on the 1/28th, and then we can probably shorten this up a little bit. Okay, so now the kick. Kick sidechain is set up, and we can check it by watching, make sure that there's a meter here going off, and that we're seeing these bands move. Okay, so I like that. And then we would just do the same exact thing for the snare, and then you're done. I hope that this was interesting to you, and if you liked what you saw, please follow, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Talk to you again soon.